You ever been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it? Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Let's spin some yarn. First off, sorry for the absence. It's been, this whole year really has been real up and down as far as just my ability to devote bandwidth to the podcast. And a big part of that is it's like a motivation thing. And, you know, like for clarity, I'm dealing with, I don't know, it's like the way I describe my like state of being essentially to people post all my shit, like the cancer and the anxiety and all the things at the end of like, and then just transitioning into retirement. All it's like a long waveform, and so I've been in like the depression, like the literally and figuratively of that waveform. I'm back in therapy now for the last few weeks. And you know, like just, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I can't, it's like this thing I can't seem to shake. And it's gotten to the point where, and I've been talking about it for a long time, and I've made some like half-hearted attempts to get back into therapy, but the VA community care system is kind of a pain in the ass. But I kind of just got lucky this time around where like my referral had expired, but I thought it was good. And so like I made an appointment, and then the lady called the VA to try to figure out what was wrong, the therapist, and the VA, who, God bless, whoever the VA employee is, that she just created a new referral on the spot, and I got in like really quick. So God bless that VA employee, whoever you are. It's because I definitely need to like, I've kind of known for a while that whatever the hell's going on with me, I need to like outsource the fixing of it. I was kind of stubbornly trying to take care of it myself because I felt like I was on really solid ground and I have a good support structure, and I was doing pretty well for a while, and then long waveform. So here I am. So yeah, I can't make any promises. I'm gonna try to bang a bunch out this week and get them scheduled, because I feel like I'm coming, like I'm on the upswing here, but like, you know how it goes. And if you don't, I mean, I don't know. It's unpredictable sometimes, but most of the time it's lately, it seems like I've just go in these long, like it's like a long down, you know, long depression in the waveform. And then I ride high for a while and I'm really productive and I'm in a good mood and everything's going great. And then, you know, and then I go back down again. But yeah, anyway, so that's why things have been hit or miss. Yeah, so today I know I owe you all a McPon Memo episode. I'll get to that. This week is that'll be the next thing I record, I think. But it'll get done. I'm less on fire about that because they're easy, but we'll see. But today, I've had a lot of selectee interactions in the last week, and some interactions with some chiefs about the chief season. And even just like the navigation of it as a chief, like trying to provide meaningful training based on what I routinely talk about on the podcast. They're trying to kind of move through the chief season with a lot of those lessons in mind and trying to employ a lot of the ideas and tools and such to make it better training for the selectees and just to have a better experience themselves generally. But Today I want to focus on the Chiefs that are out there trying to do good in the Chiefs season, and just based on the demographics, like the listener demographics, a lot of the Chiefs that listen to this are young Chiefs. So you're talking like first 3 years wearing anchors to work. And a lot of the most enthusiastic ones are the first years, right? And it can be really, really frustrating, especially in big messes, but even just generally, for first year Chiefs to contribute meaningfully during the Chiefs season. Like it's a lot of messes kind of sideline you. And, like I've talked about it a little in the past here and there, but like it's kind of double-edged, and I'm straddling the fence on it, where, you know, like you'll hear certain SELs and stuff, or just the culture of the mess, like they're kind of like, you know, informal policy is that first years are part of the furniture. Like you're there to be seen and not heard. It's like the capstone event for you learning how to chief is for you to be on the other side of the Chiefs season and just be an observer and asking questions, and you're essentially being trained to be a trainer. It's like the first year you're being ostensibly taught how to be a chief, which, you know, put an asterisk on that comment and we'll come back to it. And then this, like when you're a first year, or a boot chief as they like to say, this kind of slang term, the boots that are you know, about to not be the boots, you know, like they're at the end of their boot year. The idea, if you're really thinking about it, instead of just being a dick and pretending you're in high school again, is that you should have very limited involvement in the training, because you need to learn how to be the trainer. That's how I view it. It's not, I don't want you to have no interactions and you're a chief on the ship all the time, like the day you put on anchors, right? So like, I think first year should be very involved, because I want you to see and experience and learn as much as you can being on the other side of it. But also, we paint ourselves into this hypocritical corner of, like, we ask during final night of a Chief select, what do you bring to the mess, right? And they say all kinds of stuff that is arguably a correct answer in the spectrum of correct answers, right? Like they'll talk about their work ethic, or they'll talk about their passion, and they're a good team player, just whatever. Like they'll pull what they believe to be their strengths and kind of address, also just because of the anxiety of the moment, they start to try to say what the Chiefs want to hear. But either way, it's like so we paint ourselves in this hypocritical corner by making them do that. And then a lot of times, in the messes I was in at least, telling them that I want you as you are to enter this mess and contribute all those new and exciting things that we don't currently have, because we don't have a you, right? A lot of times, like, people will say, you know, oh, I'm a good team player. And they'll be like, oh, we already got it. Oh, you trying to say I'm not a good team player? We already got team players. Or I'm really good at this. And it's like, the selectees just get face punched for all these valid answers to the question. But then they're just not advanced enough thinkers to identify that, you know, every individual is a unique individual, brings unique, you know, skill sets and experiences and contexts that will inform future situations in a productive way. And it's like, the mess, like it's dumbed down to a point where it's almost like they're looking at like attributes in a video game, and they're like, well, we already have all those, so we don't need you. And it's like, well, you don't get a fucking vote because I've been selected chief, dipshit. But then also, like, you the next year, I'm trying to teach you how to be a trainer of Chiefs, and in doing that, I'm telling you to just zip it the whole season. And it's like, if I enforce that, if I say that's the policy and I actually enforce it, it's like, then I don't get any of those unique things. I don't get any of what makes you, and I don't have any more yous. Whatever, like, you go into the real nuance and especially the contextual experiences, like the life experience of that person is one of one. You know, yeah, there'll be similarities and some overlap with some people, but like, they're one of one. So is everyone. And that's kind of the only answer to that question, but we don't like to talk about that. So we end up in this weird place where it's like, I think for brand new Chiefs being involved in the Chiefs season, they shouldn't be sponsors, because then you kind of put your blinders on and focus on one selectee, and you're not even really qualified to do that yet because you don't have enough experience being a Chief yourself to like use that experience to inform the teaching, right? And you don't even really know the role of a sponsor. So it's kind of like you should be either an assistant or nothing. An assistant's just like in a pinch, like a backup sponsor, because then you get to watch a more senior person do the role and learn exactly what that looks like from the Chiefs side of it. And that's an important aspect of it, is like the way that it's structured, for better or worse. Being on the Chiefs side of it, there's a lot that you don't see as a select, but you kind of suspect you know what's happening, sort of, but not, you don't really. Like you might know like the I don't know, like the general flavor of what's going on behind the scenes, but there's a lot to learn by just being next to that person attached to their hip and kind of learning. But flip side of that coin, brand new Chiefs, like I've talked about this a bunch on the podcast before too, but like brand new Chiefs are younger, like people that grew up in a different time and thus had wildly different experiences, contexts, learn different things, have different competencies. Like for instance, this is not a super relevant example, but you know, I own the place. So, my nephews can do things with my phone I didn't even know were real. Right. And same thing with like an iPad, and they teach me about my Xbox and stuff like that. It's like, that like the people that are entering the mess now are sharp. They're like equipped with critical thinking skills a lot of the times, or leadership competence that far outpaces what a lot of us have that are already in the mess. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, to like admit that and say you can teach us things, but you could. Like Andrew's a good example. The dude that used to do, he's an officer now, but like he used to do my foundations episodes for me, like the first 3, I think. And Andrew had a degree in organizational leadership, and his Chiefs mess didn't want to hear shit out of him. Go back and listen to the Abandoned episode. I think it's Abandoned. No, is it? I'll look it up and put it in the show notes. It's I think Abandoned is a different one where I did with an Intel JO. I think it's called like it's something to that effect, where like he had a real rough time. I'll have to go back and find the episode. It was a hot minute ago, but the point being, he had a formal education in leadership, and he's smart about it too, man. Like, go listen to those episodes, all the first, I think 3 Foundations episodes, and I think Paul Kingsbury did one, and then I did a few, but yeah, I mean, he's a dude that could have run Chiefs training from that academic perspective from day one. But you have to have a level of humility that's almost non-existent in the entirety of the Chiefs mess to allow that to happen. Like, do I have the experience? Like, because two things can be true at the same time. Does he have any experience as a Chief at the time? No. But does he have a high level of leadership competence? Abso-fucking-lutely. And we can use that. He brings that very valuable skill to stand up in front of you and train everybody on the academic concepts of leadership. And he's very good at it. Do you think for a second that they even entertained that thought? They would have laughed in his fucking face if he pitched that idea. So it's like, what are we doing? Those Chiefs, those brand new Chiefs have something valuable to offer. Like, you just have to be able to humble yourself and like not just recognize yourself, but kind of give permission to the mess holistically that like you can learn something anywhere, including from your subordinates, including a first-year Chief during the Chief season. You can learn stuff from Chief selects too. I do it all the fucking time. But like, you have to be open to that, and you have to make it okay. Like, the Command SEL has to make it a part of the culture of the mess. Like, you have to make it okay for these people to speak up. And that doesn't mean they get to like run the place. You know what I mean? It just means that it's okay for them to talk, which should be standard in every mess in the fleet. Like, as soon as I came into the mess, I was like, look, I know my place. I know I was in a very senior mess at the time. I was like one of 4 junior dudes, and then everyone else was on their second LCPO tour and shit. And there was a lot of stars above anchors in that mess too, like a lot. So I had to learn real quick. I mean, I turned into fucking Rudy from that movie, the Notre Dame football. I was just like, they just beat my ass, but I just kept coming back. Like, let me at them, like Scrappy Doo and shit. Like, I was just like, Because you have to, because fuck you. I do have a voice and I do have something to say, and you don't get to tell me to shut up and color. Like, there, of course, there's a hierarchy, there's a rank structure, there's the literal like rank seniority and the informal seniority within the hierarchy of the mess, and those are all real things. And I got put in my place a whole bunch of times. I got punched in the face all the fucking time, but I still had to stand up for my people. I still had to stand up for myself, and I still had to be vocal in the mess to best take care of my people, myself, and contribute to like the mission and the culture of the mess and the crew and all the things, right? Like, it's like, I'm still part of that. Albeit a junior part, I'm still part of that. And so like, I still have a voice, and you still have a voice with these chiefs. So all that is to say, I've been getting a lot of, stories relayed to me about frustrated first-year chiefs that are excited to finally be in the position to make an impact, to best help sailors, and they really want to help the chief selects that are going through the season right now. And a huge motivator for almost all of them, I want to say all of them, but I'm not positive I'm right about that, but like pretty much all the people I've talked to recently, is I want to make sure they get a better season than I did. I want to make sure they have a better experience than I did. I want to make sure that they learn more than I did, right? And it's like, now that I have the secret decoder ring, I can like decode some of that shit for them, right? Which, you know, I'm an advocate for. Go listen to all the Initiation Chronicle stuff. I'll tell you anything you want to know about the Chief season. I don't believe in the secrecy shit. Like, the only thing that needs privacy is the moments, like I've said before, of like when people get emotional and vulnerable, like the white hat ceremony, or, you know, sometimes in training when somebody's sharing a story that is personal to them. I use the example of my EDMC a lot. When I was on my last submarine during one of the Chief season, he shared a story about losing a sailor. Like, I don't remember if it was an accident or suicide, but like, it was a really emotionally charged and powerful story that clearly meant a lot to that person sharing it. And he got emotional. He was fired up, and he's not a dude that really did that often, like almost ever, at least that I saw. I mean, I wasn't back in the engine room with him while he was doing the damn thing, but like, he didn't get his blood up much, but he got very emotional while telling the story. So it like made it more powerful, because he's not the guy that does that. But that needs to happen behind a closed door. You know what I mean? But like, that's it. Like, that, there's not a hell of like acceptance. That needs to happen behind a closed door, because people get emotional and vulnerable, and people's blood can get up and stuff. But like, there's not a lot of events that need to happen behind closed doors, is my point. And that if it doesn't need to happen behind a closed door, I don't need to fucking keep a secret from anybody. And you're largely missing the point. Like, they're missing the training objective, if there even is one. But like, let's pretend that there is. Let's like look at the glasses half full. Then they're not going to come away with what they were supposed to if it's all fucking a secret and they got to figure it out themselves and blah, blah, blah. So I think all these new chiefs just want to help, right? Which I'm all for. And I'm all for them like going against the norm of like this stupid bullshit where there's no training objectives, and figure it the fuck out, and you know, ask for help, and we just want you to be stressed out and learn how to say no, and all this stupid shit. Like, it's all fucking dumb. So for the first year, so like I'm for this whole episode, I'm talking to you, unless I say otherwise, which I probably will, or I'll forget or whatever. But I've talked about sphere of influence a bunch, right? I kind of talked about it in the context mostly of like realizing that it was time for me to retire. I realized that no matter what my sphere of influence was, however large and impactful, it only existed while my 2 feet were wherever they were, right? So like, a lot of people were saying, oh, I can't wait till you're a Cobb. I can't wait till you're a CMC. I can't wait till you're Force Fleet, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, that would have been dope. But that sphere influence that I have and the things that I'm able to do that benefit sailors, they're only there for as long as I'm there. And then when I transfer, somebody can come in right behind me and hit the undo button on everything. And it happens. So for me, that's what led one of the big like decision points for me was like, it doesn't matter how far I take this. It like, as soon as I go away, all those things go with me a large percentage of the time. And an example I've used is like Mike Stevens did a bunch of stuff. He was trying to change the culture of the Chiefs season. He shit canned a lot of stuff, like in the initiation term, which got brought right back by Giordano, like to the shock of absolutely no one, because then he got canned. But like, it's like a lot of positive. He released a tradition of change as a response to the backlash to getting rid of initiation, and trying to professionalize the Chiefs season more and more, right? And as soon as Stevens retired and Giordano came in, he pressed the undo button on a lot of that shit. I still, to this day, know a lot of messes that aren't even like, have never read. A lot of Chiefs and a lot of messes. They're not going by a tradition of change. They're kind of pretending it's fake news. And then like a lot of Chiefs still don't know what the fuck that is when I bring it up. The link's on the website. Go to resources. It's right there. And you can find it for free on the internet. You can get copies of it now from Jim Lucci. He's retired now. He'll sell you, like, he updated it recently too, but like he'll send you a spiralized copy that I want to say he signs, or not spiralized. It's like a book. He made them, like, they're nice. They're like bound. And I got a couple copies last year for Desiree and Ariana, but like they're cool. I think he uses the money, like all the profits go to like a fucking scholarship fund, like the CPO scholarship fund or something like that. I don't think he's pocketing money off of it either, but either way, it's free on the internet in its original form. And then he's updated it since then, and he sells bound copies of it, but you just got to hit him up on Facebook. But like a lot of people pretend that's not even real. And so like the sphere of influence thing, it goes that way, right? But it goes the other way too, where if you recognize that you have a sphere of influence to start, like that's your starting point. Like no matter where you are, if you're a seaman, you have a sphere of influence. It's just really small and it's hard to find sometimes, but you still have one. But for these new Chiefs, they think that they've still got training wheels on, which is how they're treated a lot of the times. But then they think because of that, they don't have a sphere of influence or much of a role in the Chiefs season. That's bullshit. You do, you just don't have like a formal role, right? A lot of times what you see happen, it's not always, again, like I qualify all these statements and I still get like fucking YouTube comments talking shit, but it's like, if the shoe don't fit, don't fucking wear it. Like if you're doing it right and you're like, in your bones you're doing it right, then I'm not talking about you, right? So calm down. But like if you identify that you're the guy that would like smite this first year Chief for doing the things I'm about to say, then maybe look in the mirror and do an evaluation. All right. So for these first years, you have a sphere of influence. It's informal. You're like right in between the lines, but there's room and it's there and it's important. And you can make a really big impact. And it's kind of like, just like reverse engineer the thing I said earlier, right? Where there's all these selectees going through the season. A lot of them are going to have shitty sponsors. A lot of them are going to be in a mess that just doesn't fucking get it. And as a result, they're going to have a really negative experience. And a lot of that negative experience is rooted in their high level of competence that doesn't jive with like what's going on, because none of it makes any fucking sense. And it's just like, it's all this listless, training objectiveless fucking like shit show. And they can see the Emperor has no clothes much fucking earlier than it used to happen, if it happened at all. Like I was fucking, like I thought a lot of the shit that happened to me during the season in 2011 was stupid, but I didn't know why it was stupid. I just didn't like it. Right. I didn't recognize it for what it was until later, like until I got suspicious in my first year. And then when I saw the season from the Chiefs side of it, I was like, oh, my God, this is all complete bullshit. Like there's no plan at all, unless you find yourself with like just lucking your way into a hyper competent season lead or leads and or SEL. I mean, yeah, it's like, because the season lead has so much leeway the vast majority of the time, unless the SEL is super hands-on, because the SEL is just going to look at everything and cosign, right? So like the season lead has a lot of ability to shape how that season's going to happen. So anyway, so like the first year sphere of influence thing, as you see those chief selects suffering, as you see them confused and not getting the help that they need when they ask for it, and just getting face punched in training, not learning anything, getting frustrated, wondering what the fuck the point of all this is, and getting demoralized. And there's a lot of messes out there. I keep getting these messages about, like, there's a lot of people that, now that there's no formalized policy documents of any kind, and I mean, there wasn't really ever, but like, there was the MCPON what used to put out guidance that said it was mandatory, and they used to put out guidance with a little more detail and what was supposed to happen, and now they don't. So you're seeing more and more people like hear about the tribal knowledge of, you don't got to play, you know, it's voluntary, right? And it sounds like there's a lot of people out there going, fuck this, man, I don't want to do this bullshit. And if the command treats it as not mandatory, they don't have to do it. You know what I mean? And they'll like pull out the old, like the PRT and teaching of the creed's mandatory, even though that's written literally fucking nowhere. So it's like, all right, I mean, I guess this is what we're doing. And then COs are getting weird about it. And like, it's such a dumpster fire. And it's like, if it was ever any more evidence of we need to update that OpNav instruction, the leadership continuum thing, to encompass a lot of the chief season stuff. I mean, like, it doesn't fix a ton of the shit, but at least it would clear this up if they just added a paragraph on the chief season and said it was mandatory or not. Like, fucking make a decision. Just provide clarity. Like, I think it should be mandatory if it's wildly like reformed and updated to be constructive, and it has a master course document and formal training objectives and, like, you know, a train the trainer course for sponsors and leads and shit. But, like, you know, fucking, there's lots of stuff that I, you know, have high hopes for that someday they'll get their head out of their ass and fix. But either way, just provide the clarity so that, and then there's a policy document for commands to use to hold people accountable too. Say, nope, it's mandatory. It says right here, signed by an admiral or whatever, you know, like, but none of that exists. And so you're in this weird gray area where, like, yeah, is it a mandatory training event because your CO said so? I mean, yeah, but what if your CO didn't say so? Or what if your CO says, no, I don't care, it's not mandatory, they don't have to do it? Then what? And it's like, it's different everywhere. And so it's like, it's just such a shit show. And so, like, nobody knows which way is up. And, like, you can't justify it. Like, you can't justify what's going on as, like, materially adding to a chief's ability to do their job, in my analysis. Like, I just don't fucking see it, because most messes spend so much time fucking around. And so it's, and like, there's this spectrum of like, fuck games, disengagement because we're so goddamn busy with the mission and everything, and the SEL is just like not a chief season guy, and or like it's more important than everything, and we're gonna like disappear for 6 weeks. And it's like, all those things don't work. Like, all those things suck. But it's like, because that wiggle room exists, because everything is this amorphous, like, ambiguous blob of like, who the fuck knows. And so, like, the people that happen to be there at the time are the ones that dictate, like, how it's, like, what the priority level is going to be and how it's going to be done and what's important and what's not, and how are we going to run this thing? Are we going to make our own formal training objectives, or are we just going to wing it, which is what most people do? Like, yeah, they write up orders and shit, but they're fucking winging it. There's no training objectives for any of the shit you're doing. So it's like, you know, it's got to be formalized, but that's not the point of this one. I don't want to go too far down that hole. For the Chiefs, the boot Chiefs, it's like, you're wearing anchors to work, and almost all of you are paid at this point. Like, there's some of you that made it early that I gotta wait till like fucking December. I was one of those, and it sucked, but because you're doing the job of a chief for like a year and a half before you ever see the paycheck. But anyway, it sucks, but it's, you know, I guess it's better than not promoting later, I guess. I don't know. Because you're wearing anchors, right? And like, you've been at the command, and like, if you made chief at that command and stayed, which, you know, I know isn't super common, but it happens enough that, you know, I'll mention it. But that, like, they know you're a boot chief, right? And a lot of times they know you're a young chief anyway when you get to the command, just because of the way the hierarchy happens. It's like, they just kind of know, sort of. Not always though, but like you present as a chief. You're wearing khakis. You got anchors on. If you're into NWs, you don't have khakis on, but you got a khaki belt on. You got your anchors on. It's like they know, right? And so like for these chief selects, it's like your analysis is almost more valuable because this just happened. Like it's like a recency bias towards listening to you. Not that the salty chiefs don't have wisdom to dispense, which hopefully they're doing that, but like they also are going to ham-handedly fuck this up a lot of the time. So it's like, if you recognize that to be the case, and again, like if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. If your fucking mess is high functioning and they're killing the season, and then just learn as much as you can from those high functioning chiefs. But for the most of the messes out there, I think, like for the standard, like the mean and below, identify those weak areas, right? Like if the sponsors suck, step in, right? And informally, you know, like just give them your number. Say I'm always here, happy to help. Go out of your way, like during PT, like PT with them if you can, if you're physically capable. That goes so fucking far with people. Instead of being those fucking chiefs that stand around out of uniform or not even in a PTU or whatever and just kind of like heckle you from the sidelines, like fuck those guys. Unless they're like got a boot on or something. Like if they would have been PTing with you but they can't because they broke their toe, okay, fine. But like if they're just fat, lazy kid, like just fat kids that are too lazy to fucking PT in the morning, but they wanted to show up to heckle you and show face because it's a thing that the, you know, C-cell or somebody is worried about. Like PT with them, it means a lot. Like if you're going to tell them to do something, you goddamn well better be willing to get down there and fucking do it with them. And I did that shit. I probably did give myself like some kind of a fucking heat stroke or something when I went out to one of my old A school instructors in Virginia. And I mean, it was one of those seasons that got like, I think it was a weird schedule. It might have been right. I don't know. I don't remember. But like it was hot as fuck in Virginia and we were hustling. Like the morning run was fine because it was still cold out and shit. But then we were like running up this hill of sand and it was like a million fucking degrees, 100% humidity. I almost fucking fell out, man. I had to sit in my friend's car with the AC pumping for like 2 hours and just bomb water because I just, you know, I wasn't in great shape at the time, but like I could keep up. And I was like, holy shit, was I not acclimated to that climate? But like, you gotta do. I'm a little over enthusiastic. Don't do that shit. But like so stop before I did. But it's fun. Like you're supposed to be having fun with this. But two, it's like they need, like if you want them motivated and to care about this process, like you have to motivate them, and you're not going to do that by screaming at them and telling them they suck at everything. You're going to, and like, there's a modicum of that. Like you can kind of tongue in cheek, like, hey, why am I so far ahead of you guys and all this other shit? But like, you got to do the shit with them, or like, why can I do so many more push-ups than you or whatever? And it's like, just give them some shit, but be consistently in there with them doing the PT and jump in there and help them without even asking as like an example. And it'll kind of encourage them asking later, like, hey, can we get some help from the mess? But even just throughout the entire normal season, not even final night, it's like identify opportunities to help them in any way that you can. And you don't want to like give them the answers to the test exactly, because there is some stuff they need to work their own way through, but you can like do the nudging them back on path thing. But then there's a lot of stuff that you need to just explain what's going on. The catch-22 here for those first years is it's gonna be hard to not disillusion everyone if you're trying to explain some of the things that I explain on the podcast, right? That like the emperor has no clothes type stuff. Stay away from that. That's a conversation for after the season, I think. And I say that only because like if they don't find it organically through somebody like me, somebody like you saying it from the position you're in is going to just sound like it's like you're blaming your own shortfalls during your season on the Chiefs and trying to like discredit the process instead of taking accountability for your own weaknesses and shit like that. It's going to discredit you with the people you're trying to reach because you're not a guy like me saying it. right? If a senior chief or a master chief sits them down after the season and they are like I did this on more than one occasion, you know, whether you agree or disagree, it happened, where I like decrypted it for them after the season, where I was just like, yeah, it's all bullshit. Like, I mean, we do our best, but like, it's all bullshit. Like, there's no formal process. There's no training objectives. There's no, yeah, I mean, like, it's, and like, some of it is just they're handicapped by it being a command delivered thing and they have all this other important shit to do. But then also, it's not, there's no formal course. There's no materials. Like, if you want, like I talked about, if you want them to command deliver something, there better be the world's best construct and resources built around them so that it's like, they don't have to fucking create all this shit. Because that's what you do. I mean, 6 months before the season, I'm working on instructions and tools and activities and all this shit because I have to create it from scratch. I still got a bunch of the templates and shit, I think. Pretty sure. But it's like, that should all be created for you. I mean, that should be like an official thing. You just go in the stock system and order the copies you need and they all show up. I mean, you should be able to order like a Chiefs season starter kit on fucking Our Supply or whatever it is now. I don't know. Is that where you order stuff, Ellis's? I don't know. Shit on me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think it's Our Supply. I mean, you could order parts for equipment in like Ohms and G, but I think regular supply stuff is, I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, it like for the, like you have a lot of impact and you have a lot of ability to kind of help steward those Chiefs like through the season. And when you see them like coming out of training after just getting destroyed and they all look like whipped dogs and then there'll be infighting because people start blaming each other for what's going horribly wrong and shit. And it's like, you can squash all that and kind of just become like, okay, selectees, school circle, come here. Like, let's talk. And then, okay, what's going on? And that way you can kind of mediate it and facilitate their own critical thinking and give them some advice and give them some wisdom and push them in the right direction. And you can use some of the things that I've decrypted through like the Initiation Chronicles and a bunch of other shit I've talked about on podcasts. And without completely destroying their faith in the Chiefs mess of the season, like tell them Santa's not real after they're pinned, right? But you can kind of like nudge them in the right direction. You can say things like, yeah, but like you're going to get yelled at anyway. So why not have some fun with it? Or like, fuck it and just turn in a shitty phone card instead of trying to make this, you know, like Gucci, like super whammadine fucking phone card that like lights up and fucking spins and shit. Like just write it all down really quick, click print, fuck off. Here's your phone card that you didn't even need. You know what I mean? Like you can help them in ways like that so that they're not like losing sleep and getting no time with their family because they're trying to make a fucking Gucci phone card. Like, fuck it. Check the box and move on. You're going to get yelled at anyway. And then after the Chiefs season, if you spent all that time on that phone card, they'd have been like, you guys are so dumb, but also that was the coolest phone card I've ever seen. And that's it. That's not like, they'll laugh at you for putting all that time into it. And so it's like, maybe don't tell them that, but just tell them like, you don't need to spend all this time on this. Just check the box, move on, because no matter how much time you spend on it, you're going to get face punched. That's just the nature of the season in almost everywhere. And I like, to be fair, and I want to qualify all these things I'm saying. I have heard a lot this year that some things have changed for the better in the eyes of somebody like me. It's not being enforced everywhere, and it certainly isn't happening everywhere. So it makes me wonder if guidance actually came down from on high or not. But it sounds like some guidance went out from probably the MCPON via the leadership mess, even though I don't know this for sure, and I'm trying to get my hands on it if it's real. So if you have it, send it to me, please. don'tcovertheshitpodcast@gmail.com. But it sounds like some guidance came down behind the scenes to the leadership mess and then down to CMCs and C-cells and shit that you need to stop doing a lot of the dumb shit. Like shock and aw's dead. Genuine terms are dead. The honorable, most highly and exalted bullshit's dead. Stuff like that. That's what I've heard, that like a lot of places are explicitly telling chiefs not to do that shit. But then I'm also hearing that it's still happening, and a lot of places, like I've heard specifically that they've been directed not to do that shit, and then as soon as the CMC walks out, they're like, yeah, fuck that, we're doing that anyway. You know what I mean? And so in practice, a lot of the shit's still happening, but I don't know. I'm hopeful in that way. And so like if you're one of the messes that's like actually doing what you're told, if that's what happened, like assuming that guidance came down, good for you. And like, you know, I'm happy. And you know, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't fucking wear it. But my suspicion is that it's still happening almost everywhere, and that sucks. But also like you can, you know, like, I don't know, like you can, the first year chiefs, like you can have a large impact and kind of treat it like I've said it a lot about systems in the Navy, like the eval system, the award system, you know, and you can consider like the hierarchical systems that are like the chief's mess or the first class mess or the wardroom or whatever to also be just systems, like just systems within the greater organization that is the Navy, right? A lot of them are broken. A lot of them. They're dysfunctional and broken and need to be reformed. However, they're not going to change just because you're butthurt about it, right? Like I could sit here and stew and talk all kinds of shit to anybody that would listen. And I don't mean through the podcast. I just mean generally. Or I could do something like this and I still spend a lot of times mentoring chiefs and chief selects, but then I do the podcast. And that to me is my way of making a difference. And I know I'm making a difference. Whether the institution appreciates what I'm doing or not is fucking irrelevant. I could print you 1,000 pages of positive feedback from what I've been doing for the last fucking 8 years or whatever it's been. It's almost 9. Goddamn. Anyway. So it, you know, like you can make a positive impact on this thing, but you need to understand that the system's not going to change just because you think it's bullshit. And you're not in a position to affect institutional change. And that, like, you're just not. That's, again, like another reason why I retired is like I knew that my sphere of influence went with me wherever I went, which means when I left one place and went to a new place, all the positive things that I was doing in that previous place went with me largely. Like the people that I impacted are still impacted, but I'm not, you know, like the things I was doing that everybody got used to are gone now because the next person gets to decide how things are done. And that's just the nature of the beast, right? But you can make a really meaningful impact on those people that are there while you're there. And that's what you should be focused on. Can you change the entire institution and the way it does business? Can you change the system that's broken? Can you fix it by yourself? No, I don't care how fucking determined you are. Because, like, I'm telling you, like, no one tried harder than me. Ariana's fucking trying, like, and she's burning herself out the same way. But, like, there's a lot of people out there that have passionately tried to just bullheadedly change the organization. And I'm telling you, like, if you could sit down with my parents and ask if there's anybody on fucking planet Earth more stubborn and bullheaded than me, like, I tried, and it almost killed me. And it was stupid for me to be trying to fix the entire organization. You can't fucking do that. I'm not a hero in a fucking movie or a fairy tale or some shit. I'm just a dude. So it's like, but what I could do, and what I did do, even though I was also trying to fix everything else, which is what fucking burned me out, was just maximize the positive influence I could have within my sphere of influence. So what's your sphere of influence, boot chiefs? It's everybody that you can interact with. It's the people in your division and department. It's the people that you encounter and interact with on a daily basis, which you have a lot of control over if you have the time and bandwidth to walk around the building or ship or whatever. Like you can control, like if you stay in your little lane and corner of the fucking ship or shop or whatever, or if you go outside and walk around a little bit every day and talk to everybody, right? I used to go hang out in the engine room a lot, especially when I had duty in port, but sometimes underway too. I'd just go walk around, talk to some nukes, talk to some people. I mean, I did it a lot more up forward just because it's a pain in the ass to go back in the engine room, but I did go back in the engine room underway sometimes and just shoot the shit, just check on people, see how they're doing. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a good time talking to them. I'm pretty sure they had a good time talking to me. And sometimes we both learned some shit. But they also learn that I'm a chief they can talk to. So when they have a problem, they can come to me and ask for help or ask me a question. And I'm not going to bite their head off. And I'm not going to tell them they're stupid. And a lot of times I'm going to explain shit to them that a lot of chiefs wouldn't. And then that rapport allows for you to help that person out a lot. And I've told you before on the podcast, I can't tell you the number of times that I've had sailors relay stories to me about making this enormous impact on them that I don't even fucking remember happening. Like, I don't remember doing it. I don't remember saying it. But based on this being like my default setting and how I move through the world as a chief on a ship all the time, right? Like, it fucking works. It's a fortunate byproduct of like, and they act like I went out of my way to do this super selfless thing to help them out. And it's like, dude, I don't even fucking remember doing that shit. But I'm really glad that that's how you interpreted that thing. And it's like the quote, Maya Angelou, I think, like, people aren't going to remember what you say, but they're going to remember how you made them feel, right? It's a big deal. That's how you build trust and credibility with people. Like, it's enormous. But probably the most important part of this is, so you want to, let's say you're cut from the same cloth as me and Ariana and Desiree and others, right? Trey, arguably, right? Like, he's out here doing the damn thing, trying to contribute to making things better. But like, say you're us, like us, right? You want to fix the whole thing, right? And I would argue that anybody that wants it to be better would love to see the whole thing fixed. They just don't necessarily want to do the fixing. But here's a way that you can meaningfully contribute to things getting better. God, I need more caffeine in my life. I'm like butchering words today. If you can, if you can go into those situations with those chief selects, and even just like once they're on the other side of it, you're no longer a boot, but they are, and now you can help them navigate that first year. There's a lot of really meaningful things you can do, but especially during the chief season, to make their experience much less shitty, right? It's always going to be stressful and difficult. Just that's the nature of the chief season, but it doesn't need to be shitty the whole time, right? And like, you might only be able to provide them with like small moments of calm and levity in this shit show that is their life for the 6 weeks, but that means a lot. And the contrast between, if it's really bad, like if the command climate's toxic and the process is horrific, those tiny little moments become more and more meaningful in contrast to how shitty it is. But they're never not meaningful at all. And I would argue that those people will remember them and you and how you made them feel during those moments for a really long time. They'll appreciate that you weren't contributing to them being super stressed out and sleep deprived and just angry and feeling like you're their enemy, like that we're adversaries, because that's how it's run for Banana, for whatever. I don't have a reason, because there isn't one. This is how we've always done it, blah, blah, blah. And you can, if you can make that chief better going forward, that the chief select, going to be a chief soon, right? If you can make them better by installing competency into them as well, right? Like, let's assume you have a high level of leadership competency, like kind of like the Andrew example I gave earlier, where he's formally educated, but nobody wants to hear that shit because he's a boot chief, right? So if you're that person, the mess might not want to hear what you have to say. They might not want to take that knowledge and be better, but those selectees will. Those selectees will absorb that shit like a fucking sponge, and it will make them better. It will make them better leaders and humans and chiefs. So it's like, and then you have a little knowledge on kind of the hierarchy and the inner workings of this weird organism that is a chief's mess. So you can share that with them too. Like, here's how you move through this successfully. Here's who's who and what's what, you know, like, cause there's this weird cult. I started rewatching that show Prison Break on Netflix recently. And you know, like how in Hollywood shit, they like I don't know how real it is in prison, but like in prison, there's like that weird like pecking order, the hierarchy of like who's who and what's what. Like this person runs this, and this is the guy that gets things and whatever. It's kind of like that in the Chiefs mess. Like there's this weird hierarchy, and there's like this hard and soft power, and like literal rank seniority, and then like the I've been a chief for this long seniority, and then just the influence peddling of just like like certain people can just gain influence through like influence tactics, like the stuff Paul Kingsbury's passionate about. Like there's legitimate power, but then there's kind of all these other like expert power and all these other powers, right? I did an episode on it. It's not nearly as good as anything Paul did. Like I did it forever ago, but Paul Kingsbury, he did a Foundations episode on it, but then he's talked about it a ton. So go check out Cutlass Podcast and all that. But you can gain a lot of influence that way too, right? And so that boot chief can install that in the chief selects as well. Like you have a lot to give to these chief selects, a lot of lessons learned and competencies, and decrypt some things and help steward them through the process, right? And you're not their sponsor unless you are for some reason, which I don't think first year should be sponsors, but you know, it happens, unfortunately. But you can still help steward them through the process in a way that a disengaged sponsor will not. And I would argue like you can add a lot of value even when they have a good sponsor. You know what I mean? Because they could have a great sponsor and then everyone else sucks and the process sucks, and there's still plenty there to help them out with. So yeah, like I would say that during the chief season, the way that a boot chief can contribute to those chief selects the most is just remove as much shittiness from their lives as you possibly can, which is like a role of a chief in a lot of ways, where you're talking about like shielding your people from a lot of the bullshit. It's like there's a lot of unnecessary pain and just like and angst and trauma and just like fucking just absolute sabotaging of any ability to trust the Chiefs mess during this process. You can remove a lot of that. You can't fix everything, but you can make this suck materially less for those selectees just by being there for them, just by allow them to vent to a chief, answer the questions that you can, teach them as much as you can, and then just be there for them, right? Like be their center of gravity, right? Like in all this chaos, be the center of gravity that they can continually go back to. Like you're their tether to reality. And this is what I would tell a sponsor too, but like a lot of times sponsors just suck. But if you can be their tether to reality, where when they come to you, they're not talking to a different person, right? Damo asked me that question once. Like, do you play a character, or do you change during the chief season? I'm like, no, fuck no. I am the same dude all the time. Right? So it's like you should be the same person all the time. Like you should be the same person you were before and after the chief season and during it. And so during it, if you can be the one person that they know they can go to, and it's like they're safe from all the fuck games always, and you're never going to like try to lead them astray to get a cheap laugh, and you're never going to lie to them, and you're never going to just shit on them for no reason. If they know that you're going to be the same person all the time, that's so goddamn valuable. That's so valuable. That's what their sponsor is supposed to be, is their center of gravity, their tether to reality, the person that won't lie to them. Like all those things I just said is what their sponsor's supposed to be. Very rarely the case though. They're good. Don't get me wrong. There's good sponsors out there. Like I love my sponsor as a person. He's a really good dude. He just didn't want to be a sponsor, and he was really fucking busy. And so like, he was not a good sponsor. He's a great fucking dude, but he was a terrible sponsor. Like he was just never around, never involved. Like just, you know, he was fucking busy though. And we were deployed on a special projects platform. So it's like, he fucking had other shit to do. I think he was stand and dive, and like, he was just, you know, I get it more than most, especially now that I'm the old guy. Like I get it, but don't be a fucking sponsor then. But I'm pretty sure he was just voluntold, and then he was just like, fuck, you know, like, and he was around sort of like we were underway. So it's like he was a captive audience in a way, but like he was never around because he was always so goddamn busy. So yeah, like first years, you've got a lot to offer, like offer it. And maybe the selectees tell you to fuck off. Maybe the mess clamps down on you hard. I mean, I'm of the ilk that I would basically just do it anyway. You know, like I just get more sneaky about it. I'd get craftier and craftier. Like if you're going to shit on me every time I open my mouth at training, then I just won't do it at training. I'll do it somewhere else. I'll go to their fucking houses afterwards if they want. I'll meet them at a fucking Starbucks. I'll just jump on a fucking group chat. Like we can all get on Zoom. I don't care. We'll figure it the fuck out. But like, I'm not going to stop. Right. And they can't stop me. I'm not fucking doing anything wrong. So it's like, you know, I mean, you could piss somebody off enough where they gave you an order to stop interacting with the Chief Selects and then you're in a weird place. But like, that's not going to happen probably. So fuck them. Yeah, I wanted to go through that today. Like, I don't even know how good of a job I did. I feel like this wasn't a very good podcast today, but that's my mind state is my mind state. I don't know if I did a great job of articulating it, but like that feeling, like I just want you to know, like I want the brand new Chiefs, like the first year Chiefs, and even like second years and shit. Like if you're just low in the pecking order and you're in a large mess, it's like you have so much to offer them, and you can make such a fucking difference in their lives, man. Especially because like the most passionate Chiefs generally, like, and again, there's dorks like me out there, and that's, you know, I know that. But the most passionate Chiefs during the Chief season, the ones that are the most excited to be involved and be engaged and do the things, are the first years. Because they're like, yes, like I finally get to do this. You know what I mean? And then so to stifle that, to like squash that and tell them to fucking put their nose in the corner and wear a dunce hat, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, yeah, modulate it, supervise it, be involved in it. And sometimes tell them, look, during this event, you're part of the furniture. And that's... It's really fucking simple. My Cobb on that special projects boat where I made Chief, he did that. My first year, he briefed us before training. He's like, first years, you're part of the fucking furniture. And like, not saying you can't be involved in anything ever, but during training, you're part of the fucking furniture. Let the grown-ups talk. And then afterwards, we would talk about it. Like, okay, the Chief selects out of the room. Now the first years, now we're training you. What questions do you have? You know, like, what did you see that you didn't understand or want to know more about? Or even like if we had input, like that's when he allowed us to give input. But it's like, you're not giving input in front of these fucking Chief selects because that's not your place right now. And because they knew we were first years too. So it's like how much credibility do we have with those Chief selects? If like, oh, well, you're new here too. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? I don't know if they think that way, but anyway. I just wanted to offer that, to put that out there. And if you have questions about it, or want some clarity on your specific situation, don't be afraid to hit me up. Don'tGiveUpShitPodcast@gmail.com. You can Facebook message us, Don't Give Up Shit Podcast, or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at DGUTSPodcast. If you want to support us, you can go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the website, or you can go to Don't Give Up Ship Apparel. It's dgutspodcast.com, or just click the shop button on dgutspodcast.com. It'll take you right there to Don't Give Up Ship Apparel. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear. You'll actually wear in public. We got stickers and shower shoes and bags and all kinds of, like, drawstring bags, all kinds of cool shit. And then, yeah, you can go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast. Pick one of the 5 tiers, become a member today. I'm going to be offering a new benefit coming soon, where I've always kind of bristled at the idea of committing myself to members only podcasts, but I want to try something new. I'm going to repackage Ruminations as something different. I initially kind of like, I had an idea in my head and I didn't quite know how to execute it. And so I think I just rolled it out too early, where the idea wasn't fully formed, but I'm going to put that behind the paywall of Patreon. And it's going to become probably twice a month minimum, but I'll probably do it more often, of me. It's going to be a stream of consciousness thing. It's probably going to not be what you're used to exactly, but I have a lot of these ideas about human psychology and reasoning and critical thinking and just all this stuff. And it's going to be kind of like me trying to work through and work out ideas. I think they'll all be solo podcasts, but I won't commit to that. I might catch guests sometimes. But it's going to be a little something different, about where you'll probably get to know me a little better. You'll probably, it's going to be a little abstract, I think, where it's like stuff that I might not even be an expert on, and I'm trying to like figure out the answer to a question or learn more about a concept and just flesh it out. And it's not going to be spin the yarn. Like Victoria contacted me and was like, that sounds just like spin the yarn when I first rolled it out. I'm like, yeah, you're fucking right. I didn't do a good job of like fleshing that idea out. But now I think I keep having these moments where I'm like thinking through some shit and I'm like, I need to just talk. I do better working out ideas like that when I'm talking out loud, like when I'm just talking, when I'm saying it out loud. So like, I feel like it could be really fun. And that'll be, the ruminations ones will be, another sweet new benefit. I hope, for everybody on, and I might rename it too. I'm not sure, but, that'll be the style of that episode that will happen behind a paywall. And I may even like, do one a month where patrons get to like pitch an idea to me, and that's the thing I'll talk about. So I think that'll be really cool too. So if you want to support us, lots of cool new shit coming to Patreon eventually. but yeah, again, sorry for the absence. I'm going to try to be better about it, but if I'm MIA, just know I'm fine. I mean, I'm working on the problem, and I have a great support structure. But also, sometimes I just can't get myself up to do certain things, and I need to take my time to do what I need to do. So, with that, that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Gallegos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.